Okay, hi guys. Today I'd like to give you some resources to further your knowledge and education. Okay, I'll just give you an example of why I think it's important to understand about nutrition, if it interests you. Okay, what you put in your mouth has an effect on how you look. Okay, we all want to look good naked. Yeah, of course, but that's now. What about when you get older? What about protecting against Alzheimer's, dementia, all sorts of autoimmune conditions? I think that's far more important. Okay, I want to be a strong, vital, dynamic old man in my 80s. So I'm quite interested in fat. Okay, it's been demonized. Saturated fat's supposed to be bad for us. Polyunsaturated omega-6s are better, they're heart smart, but that's not good enough for me. I want to understand not everything, because I don't have a scientific brain, but I do want to understand how things work, and then I'll make my own choices. So what I've learned from studying fat, saturated fat is made up of these carbon chains, okay, that are absolutely saturated with hydrogen, saturated fat. So there are no free carbon bonds. Okay, polyunsaturated, okay, has got these carbon chains, and they are saturated with hydrogen, but not all of them are. Okay, some of them are. Okay, so you've got some free carbon bonds. Saturated fat you don't. Okay, interesting. What happens when you leave saturated fat out at room temperature and polyunsaturated? Alrighty? The saturated fat stays solid. Yeah, you leave a piece of marble T-bone out. It doesn't melt, it gets soft, but it maintains its form. Vegetable oil is liquid. Okay, let's take it a step further. If you stick it in your mouth, you ingest it. Okay, the saturated fat gets broken down into lipids, goes into your bloodstream, but the carbon is already saturated with hydrogen, so it's not free. Okay. What happens when you ingest vegetable oil? It gets into your bloodstream, and those free carbon bonds get oxidized. And what happens when you oxidize fat? It goes rancid. You cut open an apple, you leave it on the counter, it goes brown. That's oxidation. That leads to what? Inflammation, glycation, increased VLDL production. Okay, so I know that. Alrighty, so I make my choice. I eat saturated fat, coconut oil, palm oil, animal fat, eggs. Okay, and I can tell you why I do it. It's good enough for me. Okay, so if you would like to know a little bit more about fat, I'm just going to have a look at my Kindle here. I would recommend David Gillespie. Okay, and that is Toxic Oil. Yeah. Okay. If you want to understand more about gluten, which is fascinating, I always knew gluten, some people are gluten intolerant, they're sensitive, but I didn't understand why, what happens in your body. Read Brain Maker, okay, read Wheat Belly, okay, read Brain Grain, Dr. Perlmutter. Read those books and arm yourself with the knowledge. Okay, about why. What is the reason why wheat may not suit all of us? Okay, if you're interested in sugar and obesity and insulin and how it can be quite destructive, you probably want to have a look at Gary Taubes, Taubes. Okay, Gary Taubes, The Diet Delusion, Why We Get Fat, Calorie is Not a Calorie. Very, very interesting stuff. And the last thing is ketosis. Okay, some people think that it's a terrible thing because they've heard terrible things about it. I wanted to know more, so I read The Art of Low Carb Living by Dr. Jeff Volek and Penny, and they will tell you all you need to know about following this diet and getting into ketosis. Okay, and then with everything, you make your own choice, but I always think it's important to be able to tell people why. Okay, if you feel strongly about nutrition, which most of us do, it's not good enough just to say, well, I read it in the Journal of Science, or that's what the government says, or my dietitian told me. I think it's important to know why. Okay, so check these resources out. They're pretty cutting edge, they're up to date, and they're written in an interesting manner, okay, for lay people like me. And yeah, knowledge is power. Remember that. Enjoy.